All right. Welcome back. Welcome back to this session. This is our first introduction chapter, on, of course, cybersecurity essentials for Cisco from Talent Hype. So as we were discussing before, cyber criminals, you know, um, are of different types and they have different motives. So the cyber criminals are solemnly black hat hackers who are either self-employed or working for large cybercrime organizations. Each year, we record cyber criminals are responsible for stealing billions of dollars from consumers and businesses. So also, state-sponsored hackers are hacktivists, so to say, depending on the person's perspective. These are either white hat or black hat hackers who steal government secrets, gather intelligence, and sabotage networks. Their target are foreign governments, terrorist groups, and corporations. Most countries in the world participate to some degree in state-sponsored hacking. So if we understand this very well, I mean, it's very, very important for some of us to be, very good in cybersecurity, even for the sake of our nations. So we can actually help in protecting, the citizens' data and the government secret information. Going forward, cybersecurity specialists, of course, combating cyber criminals is a difficult task. Organizations and government, both national and international organizations, have begun to take coordinated actions to limit offense of cyber criminals. The coordinated actions include vulnerability database. The vulnerability database is actually a repository or a reservoir of, vulnerability information where, if a certain organization or country actually encountered, a vulnerability, they will update that so that, it becomes globally accessible because so everybody can learn from one another. So Nation Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures, CVE, is a database. It's an example of the development of a national database. The Nation Common Vulnerability and Exposures National Database was developed to provide a publicly available database of all non-vulnerabilities. However, you should know that this is American-based, and so the content is American content. So I really don't know whether if we have anything like that in Nigeria. However, it is something that, we could actually work on. Early warning systems. Early warning system is a honeypot project. It's an example of creating early warning system. Let me give you an example. What do you understand by honey net? In network, there is what we call honeypot. Honeypot is actually, a pot that network engineers and administrators leave open intentionally. They leave that particular pot intentionally so that they will be able to learn and gather information as to who is interested in breaking or breaching, their system or their network. Okay, so that way they will gather information a lot. All right, so HoneyNet is a project which is used to create early warning system. The project provides a honey map which displays real-time visualization of attacks. So the website address is here. You can actually like navigate and actually see how the honey map is. So with this project, you'll be able to visualize and see, attacks as they are occurring, attacks as they are taking place, across the world. Sheer cyber intelligence. InfraGard is an example of widespread sharing of cyber intelligence. Okay, the InfraGard program is a partnership between private sector and the participants are dedicated to sharing information and intelligence to prevent hostile cyber attacks. So these are means of getting more information, getting coordinated by the cybersecurity specialist, also sharing knowledge, as well as creating a central repository or database of information that could be accessed by any cybersecurity specialist for them to be up to date to avoid, problems for themselves and the organizations they work for. ISM standard. The ISO 27000 standard are an example of information security management. So we have an information security management standard. The standard here is called ISO 27000. The standard provides a framework for implementing cybersecurity measures within an organization. And mind you, this 27,000 standard also has certifications under it, right? But for now, it will suffice for somebody to know the framework itself, and what it entails, so that you'll be able to know. And at least as cybersecurity specialist, it's important, for us to know the certain areas covered by the standard and how, that particular areas could be optimized, and we can learn better to be able to provide an informed decision, to provide an advice management and whoever we happens to work with. New laws. The ISAC group track law enacted related to cybersecurity. These laws can address individual privacy to protection of intellectual property. Examples of these laws include Cybersecurity Act, Federal Exchange Data Breach Notification Act, and the Data Accountability Trust Act. In Nigeria, we have NDPR, that is Nigeria Data Protection and Regulation. That particular, law is there to help us in protecting, our data and data of our organization. So some of the tools for thwarting cybercrime, as we actually explained, we have the new laws, we have vulnerability databases, early warning systems, shared cyber intelligence, and ISM standard. Mind you, in the new laws, we mention of ISACA and some of the laws associated to it, which is applicable to US only. However, in Nigeria, I mentioned NDPR. The document is available online. You can always download it if I get some time, I'll just forward it to the group so you can have it as well. Vulnerability databases, the CVE is there. Early warning systems, also speak about it, where we talk about the HoneyNet. The URL is on the slide. We can get access to it. Share cyber intelligence, and lastly, ISM standard. So I would encourage us to look at 27,000 standards so we can actually learn more about it. All right, some of the common threats. Threat arenas. There are areas actually that threat are mostly targeted. So cybersecurity specialist poses the insight to recognize the influence of data and harness that power to build great organizations, provide services, and protect people from cyber attacks. They recognize the threat that data poses if used against people, Also, cybersecurity threat is the possibility that a harmful event such as an attack will occur. This is like conceptualization of the word threat. The possibility that a harmful event such as an attack will occur. Cyber vulnerability is a weakness that makes a target susceptible to an attack. That is vulnerability. Threats, cyber threats are particularly dangerous to certain industries and the type of information they collect and protect.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
Is this paragraph? I didn't understand what it's all about.
This what?
And this street are is it arenas or areas?
Threat arenas.
Arenas. Yes, I didn't understand all the paragraphs.
Okay, so in this we're actually speaking about common threats. You know, threats, are chances or possibility of something bad or event to happen to an organization. You get it? That is what the word threat means. Threat, it means a probability of something harmful or an event to happen, or rather an attack to occur in an organization. That is what threat. Then vulnerability is a weakness that makes a target susceptible to an attack. When we say something is a particular system is vulnerable, it means there exists, a weakness that could be exploited by an attacker that might lead to an attack. You get it? That is what vulnerability is. So cyber threats are particularly dangerous. This is like something that we already knew. It is quite dangerous, to an organization, to allow so many threats to exist, in the company, in the organization. So they should always try and minimize the threat, as that is going to help them to reduce the chances of being compromised or being attacked. So the following examples are just a few sources of data that can come from established organizations. Personal information, as you already knew, is actually a very important area that attackers target and make sure that they get a lot of personal information of as many people as possible. Medical record, your medical record is very, very important, as hackers can actually use them for their financial gain, long-term financial gain. Educational record, your school information, where your school, your CGPA and stuff like that are all important. Employment and financial record, your paychecks, your tax return, and your TIN number and stuff like that are all very, very important. And there are some of the arenas, of course, where data could be getting. And, hackers are always looking forward to these areas and to this kind of information for their personal benefit. So in a holistic manner, financial data, is also a data, that we mostly think hackers are going to be looking at. Sincerely, financial data is what they are looking at, but it's because it's more easier for them. They have like a kind of semi-direct access to your money. However, personal, medical, and education are also important too, because you don't know what tomorrow might yield. Data on your computing devices. You have a phone and you have a laptop, you have many other gadgets. So on all these gadgets, you use your email to access certain information, certain services. You want to use Gmail, you want to use um, uh, uh, you want to use other services. For example, maybe you want to download a software or a mobile app, from Play Store or Google Store. You have to definitely, from Play Store or Apple Store, you have to use the email to activate that. So you see, you are sharing your data on devices. Medical data, they are located at the doctor's office. Maybe if you're lucky on a computer, if you're not lucky on a file. So your data is there. Your employment information is located, with the HR officer, information online, your identity and education data. All these kind of holistic data sources where your information could be obtained. Network devices. This is the second arena. Network devices like domain name service, hypertext transfer protocol and online databases are prime target for cyber criminals. DNS, what DNS does, it actually changes whatsoever you are using to browse with, to a logical address that is understood only by the server. For example, if somebody want to browse now, maybe you want to navigate to cisco.com. I believe all you have to do is to say www.cisco.com, right? Or you want to go to Google, you will say www.google.com. Or you want to go to Facebook, you say www.facebook.com. So these URLs or domain names are basically zeros and ones, conceptually as known by the computer. So therefore, the protocol that is responsible for converting that particular domain names, to zeros and ones that is understood by the server is DNS, domain name services. You write www.google.com, it actually is going to be converted to an IP address, and that IP address will now be converted to 0 and 1, and it will be understood, and the communication, if there is internet, will be actually established. So criminals use packet sniffing tools. Packet sniffing tools, it is used to capture data streams over a network. So some of the packet sniffing tools is Wireshark, WIRE, shark, as in shark for fish. So this is very, very important tool that we use to learn a lot of things about a target information, or about a target system, or about network that we actually manage. Packet sniffers work by monitoring and recording all information coming across the network. They what? They do work by monitoring. They monitor and record all information coming across a network. So you are sending an email, you are receiving a message from this guy, you are streaming a video, you are doing that, you are doing this. With packet snippers, you will be able to understand the kind of information that is being sent, and you can monitor that. Criminals can also use rogue devices. A rogue device is a device that is already affected, an affected device, or infected device. Already a malware has infected that particular device. So, and as such, it becomes so very, very vulnerable and unsecure. It's easy for it to be used as a source of attack, as a source of launching attack. So packet forgery or packet injection interface with an established network communication by constructing packets to appear as if they are part of a communication. So you see, these are different areas. Initially, we talk about if somebody wants to log an attack, there has to exist like a vulnerability, right? So if there exists a vulnerability, now criminals will look at which particular arena is easy for them to gather information. They can use personal information, they can use medical, they can use educational, they can use employment, any other arena or area, that is easy for them to, carry out their information. They will actually do it. Second area that, cyber criminals could use is network devices, where we explain DNS, HTTP, and online databases, and how this could be a prime target for cyber criminals. I hope it is understood and clear. All right.
Not really.
Okay. So, as I actually said, if somebody want to like attack you, maybe somebody want to like steal money from you, that person will have to start from somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, assuming I want to like if I don't have your phone number and I don't have your email, I don't even know your date of birth, I don't know where you study from, do you think that is going to be easy for me to hack you? It's not going to be easy.
Not really, not.
Right? So by getting your number, at least with your phone number alone, I can understand a lot of things about you. First,
Yeah,
I can
it's a
know
big step.
which bank you are banking with. You know, if I'm able to like dig deeper and use sophisticated tools, or if I'm very skillful, I can even know where your house is. I can know your date of birth. I can know your NIN because you might have given it to the, to the telecommunication industry you buy the SIM card from, right? So this is personal information area I just take. With this personal information area, I can get almost all the information related to you that I actually want. So personal information is one area, one domain that actually hackers actually use to gather information about a particular target. Now, education. If I can get your JAM number, I will definitely know the school you actually applied for. So chances are you might have gotten admission to that school. So if I dig deeper, I will get your information about your CGPA and stuff like that, provided the school actually have databases that is online and accessible. Right? So hence this personal information, educational information, medical information, and what have you, it is indeed very, very important for you as individual to protect this data. And the second area that cyber criminals, can leverage on, to launch an attack is network services. Network services. Service in computing can be domain name services, can be hypertext transfer protocol, that is the transfer of text from one point to another. For example, if somebody wants to browse, what did he use? He used a browser, right? So a browser is a client system. It's a client system that send a request to a server. When you open your Google Chrome and type www.facebook.com, it's like you are sending a request. You are sending a request from your computer using Google Chrome that you want to access Facebook server. You want access to be given to you by Facebook server. So what service allows this communication? What standard, what protocol allow this communication? The protocol or standard or service that allow this communication is what we refer to hypertext transfer protocol. That is HTTP, hypertext transfer protocol. It allows communication between a client server, a client system to a server, using which particular port. They use port 80 to do this communication. There are what we call ports. Ports are numbers actually, that you can assign to a particular service. And there are well-known port numbers. There are unknown port numbers. Like the HTTP is a well-known port number and is actually operating on port 80. So DNS as well. DNS has is actually the service that allows domain name conversion. Like you write www.google.com, browser doesn't know google.com. What browser knows is an IP address, maybe 10.180.3.4, and highest, when that IP is converted, the DNS will also require it to not be in hexadecimal or in binary. It has to be in binary. That is why you see in the picture by the side, we have series of zeros and ones. Joseph, are we together?
I'm with you. I'm very well with you.
Okay, so what I'm saying in essence, these services, if when we come to maybe a lab, I believe there should be a lab with Wireshark, so we'll be able to see we'll be able to see what protocol is used at a certain point. So if I know HTTP is used, I know the port it is operating, and I can go and launch further attack against that particular port. DNS, I know the port. If I see DNS as part of the service that is being implemented on that particular network, then I will be able to say that, okay, since DNS is used, I know DNS is operating on port so and so, then I can be able to target, you understand the concept. So these services, are certain areas that, cyber criminal can actually target to launch an attack. That is why we actually further break it into three. Criminals use packet sniffing tools. For them to start learning or gathering information, they use packet sniffing tool where I made mention of Wireshark. They can also use rogue devices. Rogue device is a device that is unsecure, is already infected. A device that is already infected by a malware. They might actually target a new employee in your organization who doesn't know the security policy of the company. He does not understand the cybersecurity laws and stuff like that. And they can send that person a link in an email so he can install a malware for them. Once that malware is already installed, then the whole network, that system becomes a rogue device. It's no longer secured. So they can leverage on that to start, launching their attacks. Packet forgery, that is packet injection. This interferes with an established network communication by constructing packet to appear as if they are part of your communication. So this is some of the areas, that hackers actually, or cyber criminals uh, use to actually launch an attack. And I hope it makes sense. Domains include some of the domains. Manufacturing, like manufacturing industry, they have industry control systems, automation, and SCADA. These are different form of system used in the manufacturing industry. Energy production and distribution, electrical distribution and smart grid, oil and gas, like I believe the newly commissioned Dangote refinery. Of course, when you are opportunity to go there, you will see that they are using a lot of oil and gas sophisticated systems, which of course, if the systems happens to be compromised, the whole operations of that refinery is going to be halt. Communication, phone, email, and messaging. In a converged network, phone, email, and messaging are now under the same one particular network. But before, phone has its own different network, email has its own different network, messaging has its own different network. That is diverge. But this is actually because of advanced technology in network and networking. We have all this now conversed together.
Sorry,
Yes.
I went offline. Sorry.
Okay. So some of the domains we are saying that cyber criminals can actually leverage on, and launch an attack on, depends on, the industry. So some of the industries are here: manufacturing industry, where they have industry control system, and automation system that they automate the processes and ensure that, they can do things unattended. Energy production and distribution, like power grid and electrical distribution, oil and gas. I was given an example. Recently commissioned, Dangote refinery. Communication, phone, email, and messaging. Phone, it means voice over IP. What it means by that, in a case whereby, like, you can have a network of voice over IP in a way that if somebody wants to call your staff in a company and make an inquiry, a menu is going to be given to that person. A menu. Who do you want to talk to? What do you want? Else, stuff like that. You'll be given a menu. You have to choose from by dialing certain, options to give you. So that is the form of phone we are having. Email and messaging. All these are different network that you can find, or communication system that you can find in an organization. And either of these could be a prime target, of a cyber criminal. Transportation system, air travel, rail, or over the road, where all these systems are automated or digitalized, the network will be targeted and it can actually bring down. So, these are some of the areas. It depends on where you are going to find yourself and work with or work in. So if to say you work for the government, for the government, we mostly deal with communication. For example, if you work at the central, you work at the central offices, you work with communication. So it's going to be your sole responsibility to ensure that the voice over IP system is properly secured. Emailing and messaging, mostly emailing, they use third party. Messaging as well, they use third party. Phone they don't usually use phone, at least for where I know. But for some areas, I believe they're using phone. So in either way, these are some of the areas that of course cyber criminals could actually target to launch an attack. All right. Is it clear?
Sir, please,
Yes.
I don't know if this is the right time for me to ask this question. However, maybe for me to understand very well, I don't know. It's like I did not start with you in the first place, so I was not getting you in the first place. But I understand that we are talking about domain, right? So please, can I maybe take you a little bit backward? How you can explain this domain clearly?
Okay.
Please.
By referring to domain, this is where we actually begin. The whole part of this, we're talking about common threats, right? So before you talk about threat, you need to lay a background. Of course, the background first, you have to understand what threat is and what vulnerability is, which we have defined on this slide. Then some of the areas or sources of data, that some cyber criminals can actually target to start gathering information about the target. And then, of course, we came here where we are speaking about network services. And these are some of the areas, of course, that I'm telling you, cyber criminals can learn about an existing network system or computing system prior to launching an attack, right? While here, we actually explained that some of the domains, when we say domain, we are referring to area. Okay, when we say domain, we are referring to areas in our human endeavors, different industries and how their systems is structured. And then of course, how cyber criminals can actually leverage or try to compromise the system. So as a cybersecurity student or specialist, what is expected of you is to know these are the areas and what are the possible threats that might exist in these different industries and how you can actually help in protecting or ensuring that cyber criminals did not tap from that vulnerability or bring down the system. So for manufacturing, for a big manufacturing organization, they have industry control system. This industry control system is a giant computer system that controls everything in the company from production to distribution, to personnel and everything. Everything is there. Automation, it is also like in a companies like maybe say vehicle production company, they automate the processes of the car assembly and stuff like that. And what have you? Energy production and distribution. This is like for energy distribution, organization. Communication, as I explained earlier, this is when an organization deployed phone, email, and messaging system internally to their organization, which is online as well, you know. So based on these informations, cyber criminals might start learning about that system and of course plan ahead on how they can bring the system down. So now you as cybersecurity specialist, what are the possible threats surrounding manufacturing systems? What are the threats surrounding energy production and distribution, communication and transportation systems? Those threats, now you know them and you are learning more about them. So how can you protect your organization from being compromised or ensure that nobody has the power to bring down the systems? So that is what we are actually saying here. I hope it makes sense and I hope you understand it. So yes, sorry, I will stop this recording now. This link will expire. So let's kindly join in seconds.